Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 35 in this series on developing a survival game. In this video, we will set up the remainder of our material layers. So we'll set up our grass, mud, dirt, and sand layer. They are all relatively the same, so it shouldn't take much to get all these layers quickly done after we have done the first one, which will be the dirt layer. That said, this series is brought to you by my Patreon sponsors, and with all of that said, open up your projects and let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the editor. I've started my editor in our test map. As you can tell, I built the lighting, which is got rid of that grid pattern. We have the annoying tiling still and all the specular stuff, but we're going to take care of that towards the end of the subsection. In this video in particular, we're going to create all our other layers. And that is because all our other layers are pretty much the same as each other, except for grass. So we will start with our dirt layer. So I'm going to create a dirt folder. And in my dirt folder, under materials, ground, dirt, I'm going to create a new material. No, I'm not. I lied to you. I'm going to create a new material function. So I'm going to use our MF dirt layer. Yeah, I couldn't resist making that joke finally. And let's pop this open. And in here, I'm going to just do what I did last time. I'm going to do this a bit weirdly. I'm going to call this my height output. I'm going to create a new output called my layer output, which will be the output that I'm actually going to enable for preview and start previewing. So it's actually real-time previewing, even though none of these are going to be moving. All right, I'm going to then do the same thing I did last time, which if you don't remember, we can just quickly pop open the rock and take a look at, which I'm going to create my texture chord for our tessellation first, and then the one for the actual tiling. So it's going to be right-click, function, input, and this will be a vector 2 called our dirt UV text chord. I'm actually going to copy that, underscore NON. And I'm going to do nothing else with it. I am going to create just going to move these out of the way though for now. I am going to create a new function input that will be our dirt UV text chord. It will be vector 2. And I'm going to set up my preview real quick before I do anything else. Again, the preview doesn't do anything. I am going to do world position. That is not what I wanted. World position. And I'm going to multiply my world position. So I do multiply. And we're going to have a value of 1 in a scalar variable passed into there. And then I'm just going to tack that onto my preview there. It doesn't do anything really. It's a preview. That's all it is. We're previewing what it's going to look like. All right, I'm going to open up my window. I'm going to go to Content, Content Browser 2, go up from Rock, because that's where I was last in my content browser, to Ground, to Dirt. I'm going to select all my layers, and I'm going to drag them onto here. Don't need 2 sets of these. However, like last time, what I need to do is I need to set these to be from a shared wrap. Again, if you're getting errors where you get this checkerboard pattern or blank or a black spot on a particular quadrant, then you have not done the shared wrap correctly. All right. Actually, I said we're going to use clamp at one point in this series as well, but that's for a UI asset, and there's a reason for that there. Let's leave these up here. What we're going to do is we are just going to come from our vector 2 here. We're going to multiply. We're going to multiply by a parameter, so we're going to right-click. Oh, I said I was going to show you something in the last video. Before we go forward, I'm going to show it to you now. To make sure that you have everything in the right parameter group, what you do is you go to parameter tiling, and we have one that's in none. That's our rock tile fade offset. So rock tile fade offset needs to be moved into rock. We go back in here, they're all under rock. We're going to apply and we're good to go. Let's go back here. Let's promote this to a parameter now. So here is our dirt layer, and this will be our dirt tiling. Notice the name matches their rock tiling. We are going to default this out to 0.001, and we're going to put this in a category called dirt. That way when we have it in the material instance for our landscape, we know what we're looking at. All right, with that done, I'm just going to plug that into our UV there. And you can see it's now moving. We're going to come up to our output here, and we're going to do make material attributes. Again, we're going to have something between the make material attributes and our texture sample here. So don't worry too much about having it close. We do want some distance, mostly because, again, we're going to have a multiply here. For our specular, we're going to do what we did last time. We are going to right-click, promote to parameter, and this is our dirt specular. So notice we don't have any of that tiling stuff for near and far that we did. It'll be 0.01 with a min of 0 and a max of 1. And again, we will put this in the category of dirt, if it will let me. Thank you. For our roughness, we will do what we did last time. We'll take our roughness, which I'm pretty sure is... I always set the ambient occlusion ones. It's this one. There it is. We will take this and we will use the red channel to lerp between two values. And we're going to lerp between our dirt roughness min. So dirt rough min, which we will default out to 0. And our dirt rough max. So dirt rough max, which will default out to 1. Again, I'm going to put these both in the category of dirt. There we go. And plug that lerp into our roughness over there. There we go. Move that this way. And now I am going to, like before, put a reroute here. Which I probably should have done after before I line these things up. And then come into here, into our UV, and we're going to use that for our tiling. Interesting. I get a little bit of a different preview on my test file. It's a little bit more zoomed in. Oh, it is now. Never mind. I'm just seeing stuff. We're going to do our normal next. And we can just grab from here, plug straight into there, put a lovely little reroute in, line that up, come off of here, go into our normal. Always takes me a minute to find it. And because I'm not a fan of how that is moving, I'm just going to do it this way. There we go. We will do the same for our AO. Again, you can skip AO because I really can't tell when ambient occlusion is working versus when it isn't working. That might be a me thing, but I've heard the same from a lot of other people as well. So feel free to skip this one. By the way, all I'm doing is lining these up a bit better. Again, we're going to go straight into our UV for ambient occlusion. Going to line that up. And again, we're going to go from here into ambient occlusion. There it is. And we're going to bring this down here. It's not like these lines aren't going to cross, so I'm not sure why I'm so worried about it. They are going to cross is my point. And then again, we are going to do, actually I lied, we do need 2 copies of this displacement node. We'll leave one of them down here for a tessellation down the road. We won't touch it. We won't talk about it. We'll ignore its existence for now. As for our height output, we're going to plug directly from our RGB into our height output here. And we're going to come off our UV and plug into there. And one final reroute. Notice I haven't gone through any details on what we're doing or why we're doing it, because this is all stuff we've done before. And I've talked about the 0 to 1 on specular, metallic, roughness, I think kind of opacity. We've talked about what normal maps are, I believe, as well. Ambient occlusion just affects lighting. I see it work better on skin textures than anything else. So, you know, hey, it works great for skin textures. But that is our dirt. Let's check we have everything in the correct spot for our dirt. We will have a lot more to plug into this down the road, but that is our base for now. And we're going to go back to our ground. Oh, sorry, we're in textures for some reason. We're going to go to materials, ground. Let's open up our landscape. and let's do a material function call. We will search for our dirt layer. Okay. Make sure to hit apply, save. There we go. And we have our dirt UV text chord. Plug into there. Plug into there. Our layer goes into our dirt layer and into our height dirt or layer dirt. All right. And now I'm going to start lining these up a bit better. All right. With that done, we will do our mud and actually let's do our grass layer because that's going to be the one that's a bit different. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to our folder here. We're going to create a new folder called grass. We are going to go to our dirt. We are going to duplicate this layer, and this will be our grass layer. And we are going to move this into our grass folder there. Let's open up our grass layer. I'm already in it. Sorry, I'm seeing the dirt and getting really confused. And our grass is a little bit different, but the base parts of it are the same. So for our grass layer, what we're going to start by doing is changing out all of our samples right now to our T grass, and then I'm going to do D for diffuse. Boom. Then it's going to be T dirt rough, or RGH. If we'll switch, there we go. Why didn't it switch? T dirt roughness. Oh, I'm doing dirt. T grass RGH. There we go. And then it's T grass NM. T grass AO. And then it's T grass disp. And then one more time, T grass disp. Why are we doing it this way? Well, it saves us from having to do the shared clamp. We have everything sort of preset. We do need to change all the names in here though. And we do one more thing. Our specular is different. So we're gonna grab everything outside of the specular and that node and just move it down a bit. All right, so our specular, we're gonna unpin this. We're actually gonna delete this for a moment. Actually, no, we're gonna undelete that. We're gonna rename this as our grass specular min, which we will set to 0. And then we will do a grass specular max, which we will default to 1. And while I'm thinking about it, we'll create the category grass real quick and put these both into that category. We are going to lerp between these two values. So lerp, linear interpolate, A for min, B for max. That goes into specular. And we are going to then duplicate this texture sample here. Again, so we have the shared wrap. We're going to search for T grass spec. There we go. And there's our specular map for our grass. And I'm going to select all the reroutes and just move them out ever so slightly. And I'm going to put one more reroute in the middle here. And I'm going to bring this down here, plug that into my UV texture coordinate, line that up, bring them both down a little bit more. And I'm going to plug from our red channel into our alpha there. And there's our grass actually done. Well, no, not really. We still have one more thing to do, which is not to put that reroute in. It's just something I'm doing right now while I talk, but is to rename all of this to grass. You have to have different names. I can't stress that enough as well. Not only should the names be identifiable with what layer they are addressing, the names have to be different because the material instance only sees one instance of anything with the same name. So it doesn't matter what layer it's in. If you do tiling and only tiling, then tiling is going to be the same for all layers. So it does need to be unique to each layer. So I'm just going to go through each of these and change these to grass. And I'm going to make sure that when I'm done, I have nothing left in my dirt tiling file name thingamajigger. So I'm just going to go over here, and it's grass as all of them. They all have the word grass in there. All right. And I'm going to change my default tiling, by the way, to 0.01 on our grass. Right, that is our grass done. Apply save, go back to your landscape layer, and we're going to do material function call. We have the grass layer automatically, but it doesn't show up. Drop down there. And we're going to do layer into layer grass, height into height grass. And oh, there is a mistake. Our inputs are wrong. So this should be our grass UV coordinate and our grass UV. I mean, on this one, it doesn't really matter because we're putting an input in. Yeah, I know. All right, fine. Plug your appropriate layers in. So grass UV from the regular world position and the NON from the excluding material offset. All right. There we go. And now I'm going to go back to my main editor window. I'm going to create a new folder. And this new folder will be, if I didn't click off the screen by accident, will be our mud layer. Let's open this up. Let's go to our dirt layer. We're going to duplicate the dirt layer for all of these, by the way. We're going to duplicate this. This will be our MF mud layer. All right, let's go ahead and put that into there. Move. And let's change folders. Pop this open. And this one's fairly simple. Again, T mud D. There is our diffuse. T mud RGH for roughness. T mud NM for, ooh, that would be helpful if I didn't have the wrong character. Then NM for our normal. T mud, this is AO. And then T mud disp. And again, we're going to do T mud disp down here. All right, so we have our displacements for mud, our AO for mud. I'm just checking all these are the correct ones, our normal and our roughness. Right, so for our mud layer, we need to go through and change all our parameters again. This one will leave at 0.001, but it is now mud tiling. It goes into the category mud. Before I forget, this is also now mud UV. This is our mud specular, which we will default to 0.2 in this case. And again, get rid of the dirt, put this in the category of mud. This is our mud rough min, which again, we'll leave at 0. And then our mud rough max, which again, we'll leave at 1, but change the category. And this is our mud UV text coordinate non. Let's go over here, make sure everything, ooh, we have the mud roughness max is still in the wrong category. Change that over to mud. All right, they're all in the right category. They all say mud now. We can apply save, go back to our landscape layer, and we do a material function call. Again, it automatically is the right one because that's what I had last clicked on. Mud layer is layer, height goes into height mud, and then we're going to plug in our UVs. There we go. All right, and we have one last one to do, which is our sand layer. And we're only 19 minutes into this video. You probably can get ahead of me. You've seen the pattern we're doing. Go ahead and feel free to get ahead of me if you want. It doesn't really matter what values you put in. We will be changing those in the instance down the road. So I'm just going to create the sand folder, go back to my dirt folder, duplicate this, and this is my MF sand layer. And that goes into our sand folder there. And let's pop it open. And again, we're just going to go through T sand D. In fact, actually, I'm going to just cheat and copy that for now. There we go. T sand roughness. T sand normal. I think the file name in this version is still wrong. Let's go back here. T sand normal. And also we'll make the S a capital S. All right. Oh, the T is not capitalized. Is that what's causing the issues? Or did I just do that? All right. I'm going to pause the recording real quick because I'm still updating the upload file. And I'm going to fix the upload file real quick. All right. You shouldn't have a file that says stand by the time you download this. mostly because I'm recording this before I release most of the videos. So, hey, I know it should work. So, I'm in my sand layer. This is T sand normal. This is T sand AO. And this is T sand displacement, which we'll probably have the most fun with the displacement on this one, to be fair. And this is also T sand displacement. All right, let's just save real quick. Let's go through and change this out to, say, sand UV, and then do our sand tiling, which will be the same. Ooh, I shouldn't say that because I don't have the numbers in front of me. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Again, we're going to change it elsewhere. It is the same value, though. See, I didn't even open the prep file for this one because I know I'm going to change the values when we get to the material instance in a couple of videos. All right, there's our sand, our specular. Actually, yeah, I'm going to change that one. We are going to do sand specular, put it into the category sand. We're going to change the default value to 0.35. We'll do our sand rough min, which we will leave at 0, goes into sand. Sand rough max, which we'll leave at 1, goes into sand. And change this name down here to sand UV. All right, check here. They're all in the right spot. Compile, save. They all say sand, by the way. And back to our landscape material. And we're gonna do our final material function call. Hey, look, it didn't show up this time because I switched windows to check something to change the name of the sand. And it's our sand layer. So we're just gonna grab that and plug layer into sand layer, or layer sand, height into height sand, and then plug our texture coordinates in. And there we go. Our base texture is done. All we have left to do is then to paint this onto the world. So let's go back to our map here. Let's go to, again, it's up here for modes if you're on a newer version. Let's go to our landscape and let's create a new layer. Remember, these should be weight blended. If you do the wrong thing, you can open it up and change it over. So I'm gonna put our dirt layer, because that's the first one I have there, into ground dirt. I'm gonna do the same for our grass and put this into materials, ground grass. I'm gonna do the same for our mud layer, materials, ground mud. And finally, for our sand layer as well. All right. I think, by the way, you're only allowed 3 texture groups or 3 materials per component. By the way, if you don't know what I mean by component, I'm just going to go over to my sculpt mode real quick. Gonna switch my brush size to component. I'll just zoom out real quick. That area, that orange area, that's a component. So if you don't use the shared wrap, you're only allowed 3 materials in that area. Right now, we're gonna see if you've done it correctly. And if I've done it correctly, we already have 1, rock. So let's put a second one in, dirt. And we're gonna just lower the brush size a bit, say to 1,000. Oh, that was 100. 1,000 has an extra 0 in it compared to 100. And we're gonna just paint that onto there. You will get the checkerboard as it loads in the material per each component you're adding it to. There we go. So there is some dirt. I'm gonna add some grass. I'm gonna make sure these overlap just slightly. I'm gonna also zoom out a bit. There we go. There's some grass. All right. Oh, the tiling on that is so annoying to me. And then we have our mud. I don't think I actually used the dirt in the end. All right. There's our mud. And there's one we're overlapping, as we can see. Hey, we're not getting that checkerboard, which means I've done it correctly. And then we're going to do sand. And we're going to start sand here to make sure that we do have 3 that are overlapping and come that way as well. Because I can't see where I'm painting while it compiles, I'm just going to let it do its thing. There we go. And we're going to put our sand in here. Boom. So we have an overlap of 4 textures in one area right there, technically. but we know it's working. We know we're not having the issues because, hey, we can see stuff. I'm just going to give us a bit more sand. And then I'm going to come over to our mountain here, and that ramp area, I'm going to paint in our mud. Because really, we're going to use the mud in a ramp-like area, and I just want to make sure that I get the effect that I'm looking for with it. And this is just a rough way to test it. Now, you can already tell you I'm going to change some of the values. I already knew I'm going to change some of the values. But there we go. We have now finished the basics of our material. Now, you'll notice, and this is one of the things that we're going to work on with our material instance, by the way, is that the tiling is obvious. I mean, look at the grass. You can see the tiling a mile away. The dirt, you can see the tiling fairly obviously. Sand's a bit harder to see because that texture is nice like that. And the mud, you can kind of see it. It's a little bit less obvious than the dirt or the grass. I mean, the grass is the most obvious, and so is the rock with its nice, neat rows there. But what we will do in the next video is address some of this issue by dealing with the material instance and randomizing the landscape a little bit so it's a little bit less obviously tiled. So we'll take care of the material instance settings to help with this tiling issue, and then we'll randomize or put a randomizer onto our landscape to make it look a bit different. All right, that said, that takes us through everything we need to do in this video. I hope you've enjoyed setting up your landscape. That looks so weird, seeing ghostly sand on the grass mud combo like that. We will be putting in tessellation to give the sand some depth, get rid of that plasticky look that it has in the next few videos. And if you want to be here for that, make sure to hit the subscribe and notify icon. This series has been brought to you by Patreon sponsors like Rian, Quadmenson, Connor, 1Volt10, Hanas, and Galwa. If you want to help support the channel, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Or if you want access to the project, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. And if you want to help the channel out in other ways, all you have to do is hit that like button down below. It really does help the channel out. All right, all of that said, I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.